Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the podcast. I'm joined with my lovely hot wife, Claire. Claire, how you doing?
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great. I've lost count. What's today's date? The 15th? 14th?
I don't know, the 14th?
I've done 15 plus episodes in a row of this pod. And the most successful one was the one that we did with you.
Mm-hmm.
People really liked that one. I got a lot of good feedback from that. So I said it at the end of that episode that I wanted to do a part 2, and I wanted to keep my word. So this is going to be like they fired me, parentheses, the fallout of the podcast. So did you get to hear that back?
Yes, I did.
And was there anything that we left out?
I don't think so. I think I kind of said everything that I wanted to say. I mean, the only things I left out were just details about projects that were done, just more examples of miscommunication, bad timing, overall just a bad experience.
Yeah. Tons of people reached out, and I heard from them. I can relate. Like, I've been in that situation. I'm in that situation right now.
Right.
People DMing me, leaving comments, texting me, being like, who were they? You know, like, what company is it?
Right.
And I'm like, okay, there's a reason why she was diplomatic and very fair. I thought you came off pretty fair.
Yes.
Did anybody reach out to you? And you don't have to name anybody, but like, you know, did you get any feedback?
Yes, I did have a couple people reach out to me saying the same thing. You know, that happened to me. Also owners, I've gone through the same thing. I guess some people were just really related to it, and it's unfortunate that happens, and it happens a lot.
Yeah, whether if you're in the creative field or not.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm not on Facebook right now, and I'm not on Twitter, and I didn't share it on Instagram, but I can look at my analytics, and I saw like 20 people came and clicked on your links and watched.
Good.
And that was from the last time I looked at those numbers, so
yeah.
people are paying attention.
Yeah.
How's that make you feel?
I don't know. Nervous.
Why?
I don't know.
I mean, I'm nervous right now?
I'm nervous. I said it last time, I'm always nervous.
Why?
Especially like when I'm anticipating something. I'm not, how does it make me feel? I mean, I just think I just want to say my truth, you know. People are listening, people want to hear that, but I also want others to know, like, I've gone through it too, right? Like, if you've experienced something like that, I've also gone through it, and here's what I did. And unfortunately, it didn't end, I don't want to say it didn't end well, but it wasn't great at the end. And I just wish that things had gone better. I wish that things turned around. I had a lot of hope going into that position, but it didn't turn out that way. So I did post on Instagram and my Facebook and Twitter. I didn't post on TikTok though, because it's a whole episode, right? Like, how do I need clips, but I might post on TikTok too, because that's a whole other thing on TikTok.
Yeah. I know we mentioned it, but just contextually for this episode, what was your role exactly? Like, what were your tasks? What did you do for that job?
So I did social media I was hired to do hired as a social media marketing specialist. So I did marketing, I did social media management, content creation, website management, and what else did I do? And
tons of graphic design.
Graphic design, yeah. And so not only for the one business, for the second business. So it was a lot of work, which I was like, yeah, 40 hours. It should be 40 hours. But then they saw it differently. But I did a lot of graphic design, marketing. So the content creation was the part that I really liked, for both businesses.
How did you get into it?
So social media.
Mm-hmm.
Just doing it for us and doing it for myself, for my Etsy shop. I had to learn, like, being your own boss, being a small business owner, you just have to learn everything sometimes on your own. So I learned how to do marketing. I took courses. I took courses in social media, email marketing. I attended a couple of presentations, like, I don't know, like SCORE, small business stuff, presentations. So I kind of just really jumped into it, but because I had been thinking about it a lot, and I was like, I'm just gonna go for it, and I thought it would be a great skill to have, and it did pay off, in that I've gotten a lot better at it.
I want to make sure my phone's not coming out on the camera of my notes.
Uh,
Yeah, I noticed that you transitioned to wanting to do that for a job,
yes,
a career even,
yes.
and that sort of was kind of shocking to me when you first mentioned it. I was like, why?
What do you mean?
Yeah, I was like, why does she want to do that? You know, like I didn't know that you. I find it pretty tedious.
This a lot of people do. Yes.
Yeah, and so it surprised me that you were interested in that.
Yeah. So
What about it?
I had come off a job that was account management and creating some content and helping with social media campaigns for clients. And so I really wanted to lean in the content part and the creation part, but we didn't have that. I didn't have that opportunity at my previous employer. So when I started doing it last year, I prefer to do a lot of the creation. I like the creation part, and it gives you a lot of creative outlets. Especially with the different platforms, you have to figure out what works on which platform. And so I like being able to figure out those things and check those boxes and then look back and see, what's working, what's not working. So really, I like the whole process of it, but actually just it gives me so much room to be creative.
You mentioned that you took courses. Anybody that you want to name?
Yes. Latasha James was one course that I took.
Do I know this person? Would I recognize them?
You might recognize her on YouTube. She's pretty popular on YouTube.
Is she a brown girl?
Yes.
Like dark eyebrows?
Well, yeah, it was just black hair, so her eyebrows are black.
Oh, okay. I think I just saw a video of hers today.
Okay.
I think
about
so.
What?
It was about podcasting, actually.
Yeah.
Really?
She actually, I get her emails. So she's, I also subscribe to a lot of emails, especially if
she seems smart.
Yes. I took her course. I've attended her, meetings. When they have meetings, like virtual meetings,
sure.
Weekly or monthly or whatever it may be. So I'll join her meetings, taken a couple of courses and purchased her, like her packages, to set you up, like to start doing social media management. And they're actually very, very helpful. I have all the notes. I have it all written down.
You don't have to give away the course, but like, what did you take away from it? Like, what's a big thing that you walked away with that? With her course in particular.
Her course. So there was a lot, and it was like two, I think, different ones that I took. I think one of the main things that I learned was the process of all the steps when you bring on a client, the onboarding, the here's what you asked during the discovery call, after the discovery call, here's the next step. So it gives you just the foundation, like a lot of the foundation and the structure of how to be a social media manager. And so that was really valuable to me. Not so much. Latasha with an L.
Latasha. Yeah. Latasha James?
Yes.
What other courses did you take?
The other one was Sugar Punch Marketing. And so I found her on Instagram, and I also took her courses. And so once you take like their courses, you're kind of like part of the community, right? And so you get to go in those chats. And so I've also purchased a couple of her things, very similar, but she also gives a lot of valuable information on Instagram. So Latasha James it's more on YouTube, with longer videos, and Sugar Punch Marketing is just, the short clips of valuable information. A lot of content creation, a lot of scenarios with clients, a lot of how do I help me price this package, which is like something social media managers learn over time, but she really helps you understand the basics of what goes in a package and like how to price it out.
Did you take these courses and educate yourself before you got the job at the two restaurants?
Yes, probably about 6 months before I got it. So, but I was already doing some social media management. This sort of like confirmed all the things that I was already doing and the strategies that I was doing.
And how did you apply that to their business over there, if anything at all?
Well, I tried to apply what I've learned, and I tried to come in with the knowledge of that with at the beginning I was very confident and like, oh, I know how to do this. Oh, you want me to run the new TikToks I created, run them, and apply whatever all these theories that I had on how things work. But I wasn't able to do that. I wasn't able to take what I've learned and apply it because they were very specific on what they wanted, which is their right. But they didn't give me room. There was no compromise, and they didn't give me room to do that. And they also, they would look at a TikTok. It was 3 different TikToks. They would look at a TikTok and critique it and give me a lot of feedback. And they, TikTok is for a business, it's very authentic, very silly, funny. You're playing around a lot. You're not taking yourself super seriously. And they were not about that at all, which is fine if that's how you want to run your TikTok. And so when I turned in things like that, it was immediately no. And so I was like, okay, so if you want specific things, you're going to get different results than what I think we were going to get. But they were not interested in results at all. Like, they never asked me for analytics. They never followed up. Like, once the content was approved for any social media, like, it was never followed up. There was no follow-up afterwards. No, they specifically asked me not to do analytics, not to spend my time doing analytics.
Walk me through step 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 of social media strategy. Like, how does that really work? Where do you begin? I know I'm putting you on the spot, but like I'm kind of asking for me because my issue right now is I have this podcast that's like my A pillar, and I'm like, I want to make clips, but I don't want like the same topics going out every day. I want to scatter them, but that's not really a strategy, right? So if you had to audit me, like how a one-person business, like what sort of strategy would you apply, and like walk me through what you know essentially
for you? But this is for YouTube.
Well, that's YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn, Instagram.
Well, so it's going to be different. So I don't have a lot of experience with YouTube yet. I would love to get some experience with YouTube. But I can tell you about the other platforms.
Which is like mostly shorts?
So, yeah. So if you were but you're talking about short form video, right? Not long form?
Right. I'm not going to post long form on Instagram or LinkedIn or Threads or TikTok.
I think so for you, I think for this podcast and for you definitely have a lot of value to provide. And that is like kind of like number one when it comes to a small business, or someone giving advice, entrepreneur, someone in the creative field, what do you call it? Solopreneur.
Sure.
So it's providing that value, right? Providing value is like number one. So I think that, I would have to look at all your stuff to see what it's about, to audit it. I wish I could have audited before this question.
Yeah. So that's part of the process. You would audit it.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Absolutely. So if you came to me and were like, "Hey, I need a social media manager. I need help with the strategy, whatever it is," the first thing I would do is audit all your social media, and the first thing I would ask myself is, "What is this guy about? Is he can tell me what he's about, but is that coming through in his videos? If he's saying you're saying whatever, right? If you say you're a filmmaker, right? Say you're saying that on your channels, right? But we're doing a podcast about something else. Then okay, so are you 100% a filmmaker, or are you also something else? And how much of that content is saying that you're a filmmaker? So like if you talk about filmmaking stuff, that's great. But if you talk about other stuff, maybe you're a combination of things, which is also good, because if you talk about script writing and you talk about being a video editor, that's great too. But then if you start throwing in, that's kind of aligned. But if you start throwing in things about like being an entrepreneur or working for somebody or maybe your family stuff, then you kind of want to like narrow it down a little bit more so that when people look at your stuff, they know exactly who you are and they know exactly what to expect when they come to you and when they watch your videos.
I don't know what's different between now and like, well, I guess I do know it's different, but I'm far more open to that today than I was 400 days ago.
Which part?
Just that sort of feedback of getting really clear on your target audience, and essentially what you're saying is getting really clear on like the brand consistency.
Yes.
The brand message consistency.
Yes. So your brand messaging has to be very clear.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you were about, you know, say you could be about one thing or two different things. If you're about A, B, and C, make sure that it's all there and you don't really move away from that, because then people are going to, unless you're moving in an absolutely different direction and you're rebranding, right? But if you're not, then people are going to come to you for that. Like, and I say like, you know, I'll use Gary Vee as an example. Like if I want advice on career or motivation, I go to him. If I want career advice on family life, I would not go to him because he doesn't promote that or talk about that, right? There are other people, you know, so he's very specific, and I think he knows what works for him, and he obviously enjoys that, you know. And there's also the other aspect of the audience will tell you what they want from you. Mm-hmm. So if you start in the beginning, you start putting out, you know, different, you know, 3 different things, and then the audience will say, well, we want more of this. Mm-hmm. And so do more of that.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, I think last year I wasn't sure as a personal brand what I was about, me the human. Mm-hmm. I wasn't sure. Like I had a dysmorphia. I was very lost and I had too many options or something. I couldn't get clear on who I was and who I was talking to and whom I serve and, you know, what difference I'm trying to make with my audience. I wasn't clear on that. I'm way clearer on that today. I think that was, or rather, I don't think, but I project that your former employers had that issue too. They don't know who they are in their business. And therefore, their company culture is sort of like messy because of that. It's unclear because of that. Their messaging is unclear, is it not?
Yes. So I'll say that. So I mentioned 2 businesses, right? So there's 2 businesses. So business B was clear on what it was, right? What type of business they are, what type of restaurant they were, right? So the messaging was not difficult. It was repetitive, which is good to be repetitive, but you understand what it was, and I could tell you what it was, right, in the social media posts and all that stuff. So business A, though, it's business A is one location, but it's 2 different concepts. It's like suite 1 is one thing and suite 2 is another thing. It's same building, but it's 2 different things. So it's the same location, but I constantly had to be in the social media posts. Whenever I promoted something, I specifically had to say that which one it was. And so what, you know, they called it what did they call it? Identity crisis is what their words. There was an identity crisis at this place because they also shared a website and they shared the Instagram and Facebook. But you go in person and it's 2 different concepts, you know, divided by a wall, right? Different entrances, different hours even.
Different customer experience, I'd imagine.
Yes. So a lot of confusion was, hey, I want to go to suite, you know, I see something online for suite 2. They would enter through suite 1 and they would order and they're like, well, no, I actually wanted the food from the other side, mm-hmm. right? And it could have been combined, one big thing, and it would have been fine. Like, it could have been combined, or completely separate. But it was like this in-between thing that, you know, again, I always had to post, get this on this side or get this on this side. Mm-hmm. So I constantly had to figure that out, remember all the hours and days are open. And then what made it difficult is that one side, suite 2, closed early. Mm-hmm. So when, you know, you go online, look at the hours, well, you can only put one set of hours on Google. And it was the one suite 1. So it was already messy. Mm-hmm. also shared a no, they didn't share a logo. 2 different logos, same website.
But it comes from the personalities of the operators.
So yes, it was a part. I know this problem came, this crisis, identity crisis, came from not clarifying who you were at the beginning, right? They didn't. They added the second part on later on when that suite became open, which is cool. Like grow your business, but they didn't define each one. They didn't combine it, which I think they should have combined it, right? It would have been great, you know. And there was an attempt to get feedback on how we could combine it or how we could order from both places. I don't know what happened to that feedback. I didn't receive any information after that. But yeah, there was just this constant confusion with that. But it had to be clarified at the beginning. We also ran into the problem. So there's 2 concepts. They introduced a third concept into that. A concept that essentially was sort of like a third business in there that when I joined last year, they're like, we're trying to get this up and running. And I said, cool. Like, how do you want me to help you? You know, months went by. They kept pushing back the dates. The old manager was helping. And then he left. And they're like, well, we're going to wait for the new manager to continue this project. I said, okay. So by like March, I was, okay, so they want to have an opening in April. I said, okay, what's on the menu? Because this is also a totally different, this would be like a third menu, a new menu, because it's a new concept. What's on the menu? They're going to serve food and drinks. You know, I work on the menu, on the making the actual menu, like what's on there. And they could not tell me what was on there. They had nothing ready, right? Like a month before, nothing was finalized. So I ran into a lot of delays. I ran into like, okay, well, I can't promote this, you know, I can't. So I had a plan for like to promote at least 4 weeks in advance. I had a little content strategy. I say I'm going to promote a sneak peek at the menu, you know, meet the person doing the thing. Just kind of like hype it up, you know, and you need time to hype things up, right?
That's right.
Because one thing I noticed for them, looking at their analytics, was that people liked when they announced something new. You know, that might go for all businesses, but their top 10 posts were all like new things, exciting news, brand new, right? All those. So I thought, okay, so people like the announcement stuff. Let's do more of that. And it was, I think April came, they pushed it back again. There was, you know, I still had no information on this new concept, and there was a lot of work going into it. New manager had joined. It was stressful. I think they had finally a soft opening 2 days before the grand opening. And for that soft opening, I didn't receive any of the information about the menu till the day of. So at like noon, like say the opening was at like 5 noon, I was working on the menu. Like I had just received the menu like the morning of. So I'm like, okay, so if I was busy right now, I was working on other stuff. So I had to stop what I was doing because this took priority. So I worked on the menu, worked on 2 menus. Actually, there was 3 menus total, worked on 2 menus, right? And so they had told me, you know, we want you at the beginning, we want you to work on everything. I said, okay, let's do little drink cards. Let's do feedback cards. Let's RSVP. Let's do, you know, I had a whole list of things that I wanted to do. Like I like throwing parties, right? And this was like a little party. So I like doing all the things, right? I thought I was going to take lead here. You know, they were like, you tell us. And then that never happened. I don't know why they told me that when, you know, we were on their timeline and they had the final say, like, well, you know, don't get my hopes up, right, for that. But it didn't turn out that way. So soft opening happens. I'm working on the menu. I don't know how the soft opening went because I didn't attend. I ended up working that day. So
Your second job?
Yes, so I already had my second job. So I ended up working that day. I didn't get the day off because I didn't know if they were going to push it back or not.
Right, and you got to do it in advance.
And I have to do it about 2 or 3 weeks in advance to get my days off, to get a day off. So I didn't get the day off. If I had the day off, I would have been there taking photos, creating content, going live, doing all the things. But we never even had a conversation about me being there, right? Like your marketing or social media person should be at your events, or at least you know, if they're not getting paid for that, right? Fine, but they should be at your events. You know, come get some photos, interact with people, engage, see how it's going. But there was no conversation on me being there. Not even after there was not even a why didn't you go? So I also took it as they didn't even want me there, or they just didn't understand that I should have been there, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so that was kind of disappointing. But after that soft opening, the grand opening happens. You know, it's announced. People were engaging with the content. Emails were made. I sent those out. Just emails got sent out really late too. And so the content that I was creating for Instagram for this grand opening and the soft opening, I had one photo that they took because I was not able, I was not given any menu or anything. And so they took a photo like the day of the soft opening or like the day before, and they were like, use this for everything. So there went my content strategy, right? There was no hype for like 2 days of hype for this project that you want to do with one photo, right? So I don't know the exact date anything was finalized. I just know that I got the menu with all the things, and we went through like 5 different revisions before they said, okay, this one's it. So like 2 days later, the grand opening happens. I also didn't attend that because I think I was also working that day, and no discussion about it. And that day, I believe the manager called me asking, oh, we forgot one more menu. And I said, well, I'm on my way to work, so I can set it up for you in Canva, and you can fill it in, right? Because it's just a template, right? And so I don't think that got done. I don't know if I got afterwards. It looked empty. It looked like I had left it, but I mean, I don't know how it went. From what I hear, like it was fine, but so much more. Like I wanted to do so much more. Right. And just I wanted to do a lot of promotion, and you have to give it time when you're promoting something, you know, do a countdown, do coming soon, do like, in 2 days, this is happening, doing a drop, all the little announcements people love to know.
Yeah.
Do a little sneak peek. And I got to do none of that. And so the grand opening happened, I didn't go. I asked how is it, I asked the other coworker, how's it going? Wasn't going as they expected. And so I'm just like, sorry. I mean, I can try to promote that, right? I hope it goes better than this. And so the grand opening happens, and then it's Mother's Day weekend. So then I'm out for a week. And that Monday I was supposed to take photos of all the things, of all the items. And there was like a lot of items, like over 30 items on these menus. So I didn't get that done until the week after. So it had been open at least 10, 15 days without any photos, without any promotion. And so I was asked, I wanted to take photos like a month before, but it just couldn't be done. And I don't know like where we could have done it differently. I mean, could we have...
It sounds like to me that they weren't clear on the identity of that new location, or of that new
spot. Well, then the thing is like this new project inside.
I understand
one of them, right? So,
but it sounds like they just weren't clear on what it was supposed to be. Branding, identity wise, menu wise. The service, the whatever, everything. Like
right.
It sounded like an idea, like a half-baked idea.
It was, yes. And I mean, and if you were preparing for this for a year, like there was enough time to there was enough time to say, okay, by this date we're gonna finalize this menu. By next month we'll finalize this next menu. Like especially if you're running 2 businesses already, like ask for some help, or use me to be like, let's figure this out, or the restaurant manager.
But you're also doing that and doing 2 other businesses at the same time.
Yeah, and I know it's a lot of work, and they could have paced themselves, or could have been more strict with their deadlines on for themselves.
Yeah.
But whatever they decided, when they decided, it affected everything else, and that was becoming a problem.
That sounds very frustrating.
It was absolutely frustrating, and it was not a secret.
Yeah.
Because a lot of things were done last minute, and so my role is I constantly brought up, like, let's do this by this time, because I do my own timeline, right? Like, I set my own hours, so I know how much time I need for certain things. So I would repeatedly say, hey, let's do it by this day. And for maybe like 2 or 3 months, they were good about certain things. But then a lot of other things, when it just fully depended on them, they couldn't meet the deadline. And that was...
I can relate to this, because that is what happens when a business is 100% contingent on those 2 owners. They need to kind of just be like visionaries,
Mm-hmm.
and work outside the business, and have other people, operators, like, run it, and they can kind of tweak them here and there and just look at the big picture. But when it falls on them, all productivity is contingent on them.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And so it's a bottleneck issue. It becomes a chokehold, and nothing can get done. And if they're out, what if they're out? What if they were hospitalized for a week?
Right, and they
don't have a system in place where everything can operate smoothly.
No, they were out of town for whatever reason. I don't know the reasons. Right. I know one time in March they were out for an expo, right? So I didn't know they were going to attend that till last minute. That would have been cool to get photos from them. It was another thing too. It was hard for me to say, hey, can you give me photos when you go, especially this work thing, right? This expo, can you get me photos, or whatever you can send, or if you, whatever, and I'll post it. But it was really hard for me to even communicate that when they absolutely just didn't understand
why.
And even if you didn't understand why, maybe, okay, you don't have to understand why, but if you were like asking, like, if you didn't understand, but you were just like, hey, what do you need from me over there? Or what do you need to do your job?
Mm-hmm.
So even that, like, that wasn't a thing either. There was one time where they were testing out they were trying out the new food for this new concept, and I was taking photos on the other side of the building, because I think I was there doing that, and I was like, well, while I'm here, let me go get photos of what they're doing. And I said, oh, I'm gonna get some photos, and she's like, why? Like, just like, what? Like,
she didn't
for
understand
what?
the documentation value.
And just really, like, for what? Like, kind of like snarky. And I was like, content? Sneak peek? Not even like, oh, okay, yeah, if you need to do that, or not in a why explain to me, like, so I can understand. It was just like, for what? And so that kind of like bothered me, and I was pretty surprised when I got that reaction, because I was like, you understand that I'm here for content, for
clearly not
for getting the process.
Yeah.
Should I have sat down and said, here's how things operate, right? I should have, I at some point, at the beginning, I should have said that, right?
Set the tone.
Yes, I should have set the tone coming in. It's like, okay, what do you know about social media? How much do you, in my own ways, how much do you value social media? What do you know?
It wouldn't have made a difference.
With them, I think it wouldn't have, but I think, like, should have done that,
Sure, you should have. Now you know.
So that I know.
Now you know.
I would have known.
Now you know
and
that.
I would have known how to handle these situations better, instead of just like, didn't you hire me to do social media, but you don't want me to take photos? So that's where it became very confusing. But yeah, I should have known. I should have done that on my part.
What are 3 other I should haves?
I should have spoken up. A lot of this, drama for me, and a lot of the, what's the word? a lot of this like anxiety and dread is not about the job, but comes from them as their management style,
Mm-hmm.
how they were managing and leading,
Mm-hmm.
right? Not as business. Well, I don't know about business owners, but I should have just spoken up, right? Now I think if someone spoke to me the way they spoke to me, I think I'd be triggered, and I think I'd be a little bit more like on edge about it, and I think I'd be like, hold on, and speak up and be like, we're not doing that here. I think I think I should just spoken up, and it was just so taken back. Like I don't know. I guess I just froze.
What's another I should have?
I should have put my foot down more when it comes to what I do and the roles and responsibilities of social media management. Like, I should have never lost confidence.
Hold that thought, because I want to circle
Uh-huh.
back to that. It's important as creative people to say when something's bad, when something's
Yeah.
not aesthetically pleasing.
Yes.
When
and
someone has a bad visual idea, ugly color palette, ugly font, like, it's our duty to put our foot down, confidence or not, and say, I don't like that. It's not going to work. Like, we
Right.
have to do that. And I think it raises our artist credit score up when we do that.
Right. And there's a way to go about it, because and I say, like, put my foot down more, because there were times where I'm like, are you sure you want that? Because this is going to look like this, and this doesn't go this way, and from what I know it's like this. And there were just some times where I would just say, okay, if that's what you want, right? I shouldn't have given up, but ultimately, at the end of the day, it's like, it's their business, and it's their Instagram, and it's their account, and it's how they want to operate, and so I'm going to do that because that's what they're paying me for. But I think, like you said, it's our responsibility to say something, at least to cover myself and be like, we tried doing that, but you disagreed, or we disagreed, and you wanted to go your way, which happened a lot. But like I said, there were times where it's like, I'm just not going to fight it, because it's just, I'm fighting everything. Like, they never just be like, okay, whatever you say, or why do you give, they never asked for my opinion either.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned your confidence. I wanted to circle back to that.
Yeah. So they,
I feel like I'm like, what's that chick's name from that show? Kate
what?
and John.
Kate, yeah.
Is that his name?
John and Kate will say,
Sorry,
you're breathing.
distraction.
I can hear you breathing.
I can hear myself breathing. And anyways, your confidence.
Yeah. So I was pretty confident going into this,
Mm-hmm.
into that position, and they slowly were
Chipping that away.
And I shouldn't have allowed that.
What would you have done different?
It's hard to stop the conversation. I mean, I should have spoken up, but it's hard to stop the conversation when somebody is like persistent on telling you that you're doing it wrong. Like, they were constantly saying that we're doing it wrong, that I was doing it wrong. Every meeting, it was like, well, I was expecting, where did I go wrong here? What, they would tell me everything that they did not like, and for a long time, I'm like, okay, they don't like anything that I do. What am I doing here? And then I find out later that in other meetings with the rest of the staff, with their staff, they talk to everyone the same also. They would go in and just complain, and they would bitch and tell them how they're fucking everything up, or they're doing things wrong. And so there was never any positivity, encouragement. There was never any like compliment sandwich. Never, I appreciate you being here. Thank you for coming to your shift. And so it was just all around talking that way to people. And so I think I shouldn't have let them get to me like that. But it was hard to just step away from something that I really wanted to do, the work, right? And then I built up this portfolio of photos and videos and content. I built up the brands for at least for 6 months, so it was hard for me to like just be like I'm done and walk away.
Yeah, that's hard for anybody.
Yeah, and so I'm still working through that confidence. I think right now I'm still working through the emotions of how they made me feel. And I like hate to think about it, but before it was just like way worse. It was, it's those memes where there are people arguing in the shower, like things I could have said.
Mm-hmm.
Right, that's me. Right, that used to be me, but now I'm just like I just don't. I'm still, like I said, I'm still working through some of these like bad emotions, because before this, I didn't harbor any. Like, I didn't like to harbor any anger. I don't like to be angry, period. I don't like to be angry, and I don't like to feel less confident I don't like other people making me feel less confident, or people putting me down, and I've been pretty good about not letting others do that to me. And, they slowly did that to me, so I'm kind of like trying to get rid of all those negative, side effects.
I want to highlight here that we came from the Rio Grande Valley, where managerial,
I don't know,
manager's style was a certain way. Management style was a certain way.
Which is how?
And it leaves a lot to be desired. It's just like everyone has like the dirty laundry out. It's not professional, It's messy
valley?
in the valley. Like it's just bad. It's just poor. I would rate it poor. And so we came to Austin, and things are different here. And I think the way we treat each other is pretty fair. Uh-huh. And the way I think your former employers have treated you was very fair. And then being entrepreneurial, owning your own business, you do it the way you want. I think it was a bit of a culture shock for you to go into that business and be treated that way.
Yeah.
But I think that's the norm, is the point I wanted to make. I think you see people, I mean, so like I used to go on public transit all the time, and you see broken people that are just like imploding. Yeah. They're just physically broken because they're broken spiritually, like inside, psychologically.
Right.
And they're on their way to their job, where they have to work and they have to take the shit sandwich from the man. They don't have a choice. And so, look, if that management treated you that way, and by proxy they treat everybody that way, why does everybody work there?
I don't know.
Well, you know why? Because we all got bills to pay, and it's hard out there for everybody, and it's hard to seamlessly transition to another place that's not better,
right?
Or that is better,
right?
Rather.
Yeah, you're right.
And so I think that's normal, and I think because I'm hearing you say this, and I wanted to be like, did you forget that like it sucks out there?
No, it does.
It fucking sucks out there.
And
most places are like that.
Yeah, and that's terrible. I told somebody, one of my coworkers, like, I really learned a lot about, it made me really reflect, and I learned a lot about how to be a person, but also like a business owner, right? And she kind of laughed and like agreed, right? She was like, for real, like that's how it was. And since I've been there, like, there's no management team now, right? There's no, the restaurant manager that was there when I was fired, I told her, like, she just brought so much positivity, and like her experience, like, I knew that she was going to do things right, or that she was going, she did bring positivity, right? And I told her, she's like a breath of fresh air here, because it's what we really needed, and she did provide a buffer between me and them, but also between the other employees and them. And I think other coworkers saw that, and I really appreciate her, and I value her, and I hope she's doing well. But they just chip away at everyone, and I mean, yeah, we all have bills to pay, and that's why I stayed there. I mean, I was looking for a job probably like 2 months, 3 months in, and I never found like another job. And the second job is not in social media. I should have clarified that. It's not in social media management. But I never found another job in social media, right? And then I was telling you after the podcast, like I'm not going to find a client after this video comes out, after this one and the
I disagree with that. I disagree with that.
You know, because I'm just like putting everything out there, and like, why is she talking bad about clients this way? But you know, they were my employer. I think if they were a client, that would be a totally different story, and I don't think I would have. I think from the beginning, I would have felt that things were off, and I wouldn't have worked with them. You know, and that's one thing with having clients as opposed to an employer, is that you can choose to fire a client, you know, and find other clients that are more aligned with you, right? And I don't know. Was I there too long? I don't know. Maybe. I think emotionally and mentally, like it did take a toll on me, and I think I was there too long. But it was difficult to get out of there, you know. And so like wrapped up in a bunch of other things, and I had other goals, and I wanted to pay off my stuff, and I was, you know, I had bills to pay, so I was kind of stuck there.
Yeah. I know all too well how that is and how that feels. And I've burnt the bridge while I've been on the bridge too, you know. And have quit jobs that like maybe I shouldn't have done it that way, you know. I don't mind saying that, but
what
it's
do you
true.
mean?
Just you can't just like no show.
Oh.
You know, that's
right,
unprofessional.
No. Right.
And I've done that. And I'm proud to say there are some businesses and clients that I've worked with where I never quit.
Right.
I never quit, and I'm proud of that too. But so I hear you. I totally hear you. I wanted to ask you, and we'll end the show with this, about, you mentioned Canva.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious, do you know what a tech stack is? Are you familiar with that term?
No.
So imagine, here's my tech stack. It's like what I use to work on my business. I need Final Cut Pro. I need Notion. I need Canva. I need Photoshop. I need etc. Right? Loopback, which is a Rogue Amoeba software. Those that know. And there's certain things that I need. Like, what is your tech stack?
For sure.
For social media management, I'm curious.
Notion, Photoshop. I don't have a what do you call them? Like a later, or what is the one that you talk about?
Social Pilot.
Social Pilot. I don't have one because I post manually.
Mm-hmm.
But I would love to use one. Maybe later. Later was pretty good to schedule all my stuff.
Social Pilot. I can vouch for it.
Okay, Social Pilot. But I've used a bunch of different ones, and they're all like, I love using them.
Mm-hmm.
So Notion, Photoshop, Social Pilot, and what's the other one that I frequently use? Canva's another one. But I mostly use. So I was using Canva a lot for them because it was just easier access for them too, because it was theirs. But I like using it for content calendars, so you can see everything visually. Like, I like that setup.
Chat,
and then if I can add another one, chat's a really big one. If I can add another one, probably Google Sheets. Really big on Google Sheets.
You're a big Google Sheets girly.
I love Google Sheets. Yes.
Yeah, I do not. I cannot. I've gotten better at it because I've been forced to, but it's not my jam. It's not my jam.
Oh, you know what? Also CapCut.
That's another one.
CapCut is the other one that I use. We all share one.
Mm-hmm.
So CapCut is cool to use. I think that's it.
That's brilliant. I ask because you have to pay to play to work.
Right. Yes.
And it costs money. And that's all that shit's probably under $100.
Let me see. Canva.
You don't have to do the math.
Canva and Photoshop.
Canva,
and
Chat,
CapCut.
Notion, Photoshop.
No, yeah, it is under $100.
About 100 maybe.
Yeah.
Which is not terrible.
No, it's pretty good.
Think about that to run your business. That's not terrible.
Yeah.
I want to thank you so much for coming on this pod. Did we get everything?
I think so.
Is there anything
I mean,
that we left out here?
No. I mean, I don't know. Most of it was in that first podcast.
Anything you want to say to the people that listened, like the feedback that you got?
Any feedback?
Anything you want to say in particular? Someone reach out or anything?
I would just say don't ignore the red flags. Like if it's off, it's going to be off. And it's unfortunately very unlikely that anything that you do will change that. Especially if they've been running this way for a long time. You know, maybe you'll be the one to make an impact. But if they've been doing this for a long time, they're probably going to continue doing this. And you definitely deserve better. You know, everyone says you're better off. So if you're in the same situation, you're probably better off. And you kind of, what I've learned is that that negativity, that negative stuff, right, has been removed from my life. And now I have room for more positive things.
That's a brilliant way to end it. Thanks so much for coming on the pod. I love you.
Love you too.
I appreciate you. Thank you.